Greetings, business stars.
Hello, guys.
Hi. Every entrepreneur needs one thing, guys. A clone. I know I do. I'd love to have one, right? Actually, I do. We'll talk about that today. Someone who believes what you believe, can do what you can do, and can represent you when you can't be there in person. That's what a clone's for, right? That's why we're bringing you this solution today, because we want to help you create a sales clone that works for you 24/7. How awesome would that be?
It's insane awesome. And sales is the number one way we measure our business success. Wouldn't you agree? So what would it mean to you if you could have a clone or clones of yourself and increase your ability to attract clients even while you sleep?
Yep.
Listen, today we're going to learn 3 phases of customer attraction and what it takes to clone yourself so you can attract the ideal customer in all 3 of those phases for the rest of your professional life.
Did you hear that? For the rest of your professional life. That doesn't mean you have to wake up every week and reinvent the wheel all over again, or every month, or even every year. We're talking about creating a clone that can represent you for years to come, okay? But before we start, if you want to learn all about building a powerful, attraction-based personal brand, hey, that's all we do. So hit that subscribe button, and we publish these videos on this topic every week. Okay?
And you don't want to miss one, because I'm telling you, we got some super good meat coming up, folks. We're telling you what we've done to create big businesses, 7-figure incomes, and we're going to teach you how to do it every time you tune in. Subscribe. It'll help you, I promise.
Yep. All right, let's jump right in. Think about sales this way. There are 3 phases to attracting a customer. Or I call it customer acquisition, but it's attracting a customer. Phase 1 is the introduction phase. Actually, you are just meeting this person. They don't know you yet. You don't know them yet, usually in the introduction phase, right? They may have been introduced to you by referral, by social media, your website, any kind of marketing, okay?
Yep.
That's phase 1, the introduction.
All right. After introduction, you hopefully get to move them to engagement. That's where you're actively engaging with that prospect, where you're having phone conversations with them, where you're beginning to talk in chat, video chat, or in person, and you're learning about each other. So you're moving them into that engagement phase where relationships are beginning to be formed.
So phase 3 is the follow-up phase. Okay, that's self-explanatory. You're following up with them at that point. And here's why. Because let's say you meet 10 people and you engage with them this week. So you're chatting with them. Well, maybe only 2 of them are ready to do business with you right now. Okay. They may not be ready yet. Right. So what do you do with the other 8 that aren't ready yet? Well, you follow up with them. Right. So in this phase, you continue to reach out to them until the decision is made. So the introduction phase, the engagement phase, and the follow-up phase
should lead you to sales. But here's the funny thing. All right. What you really need to know is most businesses lost in phases number 1 because you're not attracting them. In phase number 3, you're not following up on them, right? Because unless you have a brand and your brand is fully defined, developed, and displayed, prospects are not familiar with you or what you do or what you stand for unless you are literally right in front of them having that conversation that really you're just trying to get to, because it just doesn't happen overnight.
Yep. So follow along with us, guys. So think about it like this. Why would you skip putting your brand out there, which is your clone, by the way? We'll get to that in a moment. Putting your brand out there in phase 1, why would you skip that? That's the phase before they meet you in person, right? So when they walk into the room, they should already be familiar with you and what you stand for, okay? Why would you skip that phase and just wait for the engagement phase for them to like somehow stumble across you and find you in some way, and then they get to know about you, which could literally take several meetings, by the way, before you can express everything that your brand could have already expressed.
Yep. If you build your brand, if you build your clone, okay, people will become familiar with you and what you stand for long before they meet you, talk to you, ever engage with you in any way, shape, or form. Listen to this statistic. 76% of consumers look at online presence of a business before they physically visit that person or they reach out to them. That's on PR Newswire. 76% of customers are looking us up. We already know that. If you're in a lot of sales-oriented businesses, it's much higher than that. I can promise you. If you're in real estate, it's going to be in the 90%. Right? Then you can, if you do this, you can spend your engagement time actually talking to the customer. If you have built that clone, then they know about you, they reach out to you, and you're talking to them through your story. And it's not you personally having to do it. Imagine how that alone would turn the tables on how many prospects that know what you do.
It's the difference between, imagine finally nailing that meeting you're trying to nail, and you get in front of them and you have to spend a certain portion of that time just telling them all about yourself, hoping that they won't choose somebody else over you. Mm-hmm. Your brand should have already done that for you. Okay. And when it comes to the follow-up phase, if you don't have that brand dialed in, you remain just a number to your prospects, because there's nothing significant for them to remember you by. You're relying solely on them to remember you based on what little engagement you might have had with them. And so let's say your competitor is actually doing a better job following up with them and telling them what sets them apart. Well, guess who's probably going to end up with that business, right? So that's how important it is.
Engage with them.
Exactly.
Now let's get to the good stuff. Okay. What happens when your brand is complete? All right. You have a clone. You have a clone, my friend. You have a constant salesperson that's out there, another entity that is working for you 24/7. Prospects are going to know who you are and what you stand for before they even meet you. And again, go back to that statistic we just talked to you about in that introduction phase. They've already learned that. You haven't spoken a word to them. Second, prospects continue to be reminded of you, which is very important, because we got to stay top of mind awareness and what you stand for until they can make a decision, right? You need to have this out there if you are in business at all in 2022.
Right. And why do most people lose business in phases 1, introduction, and phase 3, follow-up? Is because in phase 1 and 3, you're not there in person. Your brand is taking your place. They're not going to let you,
most likely.
Right. Your brand is actually taking your place. They get to know you before they meet you. If it's done right, they get to understand why you're the perfect person they should pick up the phone and call when they do get to make that decision in the follow-up phase. So again, without a brand, you're really just solely relying on phase 2 to attract business. And phase 2 is not meant to attract business. That's not its purpose, actually. Phase 2 should be used to talk about your client, not you, to learn what their needs and their wants and their desires are, so that you can express exactly how you're going to help them based on those things. So if you don't have that brand out in, guys, that's why a lot of your prospecting feels cold. That's why you hear the term cold calling. There should never be such a thing as cold calling, because they should already be familiar with you and what you stand for before you get there, right?
I learned that from her. It should be a warm call. They should already know you. Your brand is your clone, folks. We can't say it enough. That's what we started this with. Your brand is your clone. It represents you, even when you cannot be there, even when you're on vacation, which, by the way, is one of the best ways to get more business than you can ever handle.
That's the truth.
When you're spending time with your family, when you're sleeping, your brand is still out there working for you, right?
Yep, exactly. And so if you're ready to work smarter, not harder, build your brand. Right? Because your brand is you. And as every one of our clients will say, it's the most powerful investment you can make. I mean, we just came off of a webinar with a lot of our clients, a private webinar that we do every week. And one of the things that this one lady said is, I have been promising myself for years and years. Every January, I promise myself that, my gosh,
every January,
I'm going to work on my brand. I'm going to work on my brand. And she's a lovely person. Beautiful. And she deserved to have a beautiful brand 20 years ago, right? Now she's done it. I mean, you know what I love to say about this. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. Okay. Mm-hmm. So guys, if you are ready to take your brand to the next level, Michael and I want to help you. Okay. So go to discussyourbrand.com. You're going to fill out a short form, and that form is going to give us some more information so we're better prepared for the call. You'll choose a date and time to speak with one of our team of experts, and then we're off and running.
It's the best decision you'll ever make, guys. It was the best decision I ever made hiring Tanya. You'll learn about our story when you look us up. That was one of the greatest decisions I've ever made. It absolutely changed my business perspective and life and how the business runs. And I got to tell an example of where your clone is out there for you. Being in a real estate business, I'm in a real estate business, right? I had this guy come up to me and he goes, "Hey, I'd like to introduce myself to you." It was just random, right? I was just in the location at an event. This dude just walks up to me and he introduces himself to me and he goes, "I'm going to buy a house through you." And I went, "Okay, that sounds awesome. I definitely can help you with that." And he goes, "It was a sign from God." And I'm like, "Okay, that sounds awesome." You know what I mean? When you got the big man speaking for you, you know you're doing something right. And I'm like, "Okay, that sounds good. You got to tell me the rest of it." He said, "I'm in the car business and I bought a car at auction." And he said, "I was driving down the road and the car broke down." He said, "The first thing I did was I called my wife and said, 'Honey, you need to come pick me up. The car just broke down.'" He said, "Then when I looked up, you were on a billboard right ahead of me." And he said, "Oh, by the way, we're going to buy a house through Michael." So folks, look, your clone is out there all the time. If you do it correctly, we can show you how to do that, right? You learn more about building a personal brand that teaches people how to treat you. That's what BrandFace does. It's the most comprehensive personal brand building system across the globe. We literally wrote the book on it, and we love to help you. So go to discussyourbrand.com.
Yep.
Get started.
Well, guys, let me just kind of recap everything here for you today. We talked about the 3 phases of customer attraction. The introduction phase, where
they're universal laws.
You don't know each other yet, right? Unless, of course, you've put your brand out there, right? And then they already know about you before they come to that call, right? The engagement phase, where you have that chance to wow them, to learn about them. You don't want to spend that time talking about yourself. And then the third phase.
You got a brand, you don't have to.
Exactly. The third phase is a follow-up for all those people you engage with that can't make a decision right now. Stay out in front of them with your brand to ensure them that you are the perfect person that they need to call back when they make that decision. You got it. So there you go, guys. That is how you create a sales clone.
That's right, folks. Hey, listen, it's all about prosperity. That's why we do what we do, and we want to help you do the exact same thing. When we talk about prosperity, we're not just talking about money, although that's a very important part of everything that we do. We're talking about the full 360 of an abundant life that we truly wish for every one of y'all. We know at BrandFace that prosperity favors the bold, so we say be bold, folks, especially with your brand, and especially in 2022. And thank you, Miss Tanya.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you here next time. We appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Bye.